We're gonna get Jude again, but it's okay. It'd be like that.
Yeah, they have like so Zoom used to let us do like 1 hour podcasts, and now they bumped it down to just 30 minutes that we can do with the free version. So
Okay,
it's
yeah.
just like infinite splicing together of all these things at some point.
They were smart and they realized an hour is like actually enough to do basically anything. As it
Yeah.
turns out.
So they
What?
downgraded us to like the Zoom podcasting for
How,
juniors edition.
how much does the how much does it cost to pay for Zoom? Like $10 a month?
I actually have no idea. And yeah, I mean, if they gave me a prompt, I would just do it on the live. And just make
Right.
this. But they don't give you. Actually, wait. Yeah, they don't really. Oh, actually, wait a second. We got Black Friday sale. I might do that shit right now. But anyway, we got delicious tacos on the pod.
Fucking A.
Hell yeah, we back.
I pay $19.95 per month for a subscription to vrporn.com, and I
Ooh.
can no longer wear my Oculus because it fucks up the bridge of my nose, but I've been paying that now for like 8 months. So like
Principle.
you guys can pay for $9.99 for the Zoom time limit expanding premium subscription. In fact, maybe I'll donate that money to you.
Thank you.
Oh shit! I just realized I had to do my my health benefit elections, and I think I forgot to do it this Friday. I was gonna downgrade my health insurance to a policy that is $20 cheaper per month, so I could finally afford Twitter Blue.
I think open enrollment is probably still open for you, so you can still get that copper HMO that sends you to the guy that sends you to a veterinarian who saws your leg off if you get a fucking cancerous mole.
Oof.
I just need to make sure that I open my HSA because they give me some like absurd amount of free money as long as I check the box, and I think
then don't you have to spend it, or what does it happen if you don't spend it? It becomes like a weird IRA or something.
So if you don't opt in and reopen it for the year, they don't match you.
Okay. That's incredibly complicated. I remember the HSA discussion, there's just too much fucking horseshit around it. It's too weird. There's too many stipulations. And like, what is it? I don't know. Like, fuck it. I wish health insurance didn't exist. Like, I would rather just pay a reasonable cash price.
There's clearly something weird going on with it too, because like instead of a 401k match, my company does an HSA match. Okay. And so I get like a 10% like HSA match.
So where do you work? How obese are the people you're working with that they're never going to make it to 59 and a half and cash out their retirement account? Instead,
it's mostly like programmer people. So they're like twinks.
Okay, so they're
I don't understand what's going on.
They're
and I thought that there was a limit on HSA contributions where they could only give you like $3,500 or something a year.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how they're doing more.
Your next podcast should be with like an HR specialist who can walk you through that would actually be kind of a good podcast, is having like an HR Karen
to the point where they're running the books and they realize, oh, like this is actually just massive fraud and you're working for a fraudulent company.
Right.
That's what's going on.
That's the wave nowadays to work for a fraudulent company. It's all about Ponzi schemes.
Lucas, are you allowed to talk about any details of where you work?
I try and hide all that stuff. It's not FTX though.
But you work with programmers, so I assume you actually have a decent amount of money, right? So why aren't you why
are you on this podcast?
Why are you poor if you have a STEM degree and are clearly an effective coder capable of showing Elon 1,800 lines of code?
I'm like the most frugal Jewish person ever.
Okay, so that's
to the extent of like
except that one area where Jews are not frugal is in their own healthcare, and Jews will frequently go to see elaborate specialist MDs for the smallest of issues. So that's an odd thing.
I was raised in a family with a lot of surgeons, and as a result, I just don't want anything to do with medicine.
Right. They told you it doesn't work. They told you they're real.
Yeah, they gave you the real. Yeah.
I think that
the real
surgery is definitely real.
Works.
I think surgery is like the last bastion of real medicine that exists in the country, basically.
Anything they can do mechanically is amazing. Anything where it's a black box where they have to be like, well, we'll try this drug and does it
totally busted
birth defects for your grandchildren? No, of course, no way of knowing. And fuck it, just put it out there.
Have you seen all of the charts with like the different layers of like medical adminship?
It's a nightmare. Like we need there. This is one of those things where the middle path is not doing anyone any favors. It needs to be total communism, where it's like a government clinic that you go to and like wait 6 weeks to get your boil lanced, but it's free. Or it has to be total ANCAP and like no licensing of drugs, no patents.
Yeah, like
You can
you
go
can
to
take
an
it. They can
unlicensed
prescribe you things that
surgeon.
kill
Yeah,
you, and the doctor can't be held accountable.
but you just pay fucking cash. You don't get some weird bill for $64,000 for it later that you have to dispute. And it's not $90 for a fucking tongue depressor. And there's not like the doctors themselves aren't a bunch of weird misdiagnosing morons with like their own versions of strange pseudoscientific conspiracy theories. I mean, the reality is like no disease has ever been cured. Like penicillin was the one thing that ever worked. There's two advances have happened outside of surgery. Number one is penicillin, which we had about 100 years of that before the germs figured it out. Right now we have superbugs. Number two was the guy that gave cowpox to prevent smallpox, aka the invention of the vaccine, right? Yeah. Which has now since been perverted and corrupted past its usefulness, and now all vaccines are going to be this mRNA horseshit that simply, works for, has like 16% efficacy for 2 weeks and may or may not cause your sperm to, give you babies with mongoloidism.
Like permanently destroys your immune system for that like 2 weeks of 16% higher.
There is just too much money in it. There's just too much money in this shit, and therefore the incentives are all distorted. And
well, have you seen like all of the recent rare diseases that have been solved? Like they haven't been solved by doctors or surgeons or anything. They're all like some engineer or programmer has like a brother or a sister who develops like some sort of weird like 1 in 100 million. Yeah, and then they're like, "Fuck, man, my brother's gonna die. I gotta take up a side hustle and like start like a foundation for researching this." And they go and they just like tism it for like 6 months, and they're like, "Okay,
and they're like, okay, vitamin K, increasing vitamin K instantly cures mad cow disease. So how did we know? Like, rabies, you just need ultraviolet light." Is that what, I've not heard
you got to tinker. You have to tinker to get like real cures. Just like fuck around with everything. All right. I just poured.
The meeting has been upgraded by the host. I got a little notice about your largesse.
Let's go.
Vers is a fucking mink coat wearing stud driving a Rolls Royce. Ooh, the fancy Zoom.
Come on, we don't. This is a professional endeavor. So yeah, we upgraded, guys. So anyway, continue. Back to the
Lucas, you should do the same thing and upgrade to gold PPO insurance. It's one of the few luxuries I allow myself, and it's the thing with medicine today is like you do have to spend several hours self-diagnosing and then select a good specialist in your area that you can just walk into. Like that's the only way to handle medicine.
Because like you effectively like if you can't get like one of the top specialists, then fucked. Like you might as well just not do it at all, because you're going to get someone who's like substantially dumber than you. They're going to waste your money, and they're going to give you something that like actively harms your condition.
Yeah, or they're gonna put you on a fucking like, endless like referral process, and you just like go to like 15 different doctors and do nothing.
Yeah, and it's like 10% better than Reddit, basically.
Yeah, which is kind of insane, but it's true. Yeah, it's like it's really only like the top 5%, and really it's just the number one person in your area. Doctors that get anything actually accomplished.
Also, for most people, it's really true. Like if you don't drink too much, if you don't get fat, if you don't, there's a bunch of obvious things that you should avoid. If you don't have anonymous gay sex with 1,000 partners and have them like piss in your asshole and beat you in Germany.
No piss orgies.
You're mostly going to be fine for most of your life, I think.
Yeah, this is my thing. Is like the last time I went to the doctor was when I got I fractured my skull and got a brain hemorrhage.
What happened?
I was on a motorcycle and being a little bit of a jackass. Less of a jackass than many other times. Like I crashed a motorcycle at like 70 miles per hour. And absolutely nothing happened. Like I went end over end over end. The bike literally exploded, right? Like I have these hilarious pictures of me standing there with it. Like it's like it's like it's unrecognizable as a motorcycle. The forks are totally bent off to the side, and like I wound up with like a very, very mild, maybe 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter scrape on the side of my ankle.
Okay.
And then I crashed again at like 4 miles per hour and got a skull fracture and a brain hemorrhage.
Yeah, I had my thumb ripped off riding a bicycle at like 10 miles per hour on a regular street. I've had many other wrecks, you know, where I had various degrees of like small injuries, but yeah, it was the one where I was like pedaling down a well-paved street in broad daylight, you know, sober, and had my thumb ripped off. Very painful.
That's the one that fucks you. Yeah, it's always it really snuck up on me. But I go to the hospital, and so first of all, I'm in the hospital, and I was probably speaking about half the speed I do, and I was just sitting there kind of like in a stupor because you know, you don't really think about it when you're talking, but there's like a very quick recall process that goes on when you're searching for every word that you use, and you don't realize you're doing it until it gets taken away from you, and you're sitting there trying to remember what 2/3 of the words you used to know are. And you're talking to a doctor, and he's like, so do you remember who the president is now? Do you remember what and it's like, yes, you do. But like, there's all of these other things that you suddenly don't remember, and you're trying to figure out how to articulate it to him, and you cannot do it. And he, so I was sitting, he was like, well, no, he seems fine. And my girlfriend at the time showed up, and you were like, you don't understand. Like, he's completely retarded now. This is like, he's like 1/3 of what he used to be. And she showed him a video of like me, like giving a speech at something. And he was like, oh, this guy didn't used to be retarded. Like, so then the doctor's like, we have to call your mom and tell her that you likely have permanent brain damage. And I was like, what? I don't think we need to do that, bro. But he's like, yeah, well, you injured your head. And the thing is, like, you can either call her of your free will, or the fact that you have injured your head like this kind of gives me like medical liberty to, you know, make decisions on your behalf, right?
To drain your bank account,
right? Yeah, like essentially
power of attorney over all.
You're basically on my
custody of
pig
yourself now as an agentic being, because you fucked your head up, and now I can do whatever I want with you.
Now you just have to suck my dick, basically. Like,
yeah. So then he makes me call my fucking mom, who of course like freaks out and stuff. And you know, the next 2 days are like just my mom, you know, having a meltdown, like, oh my god. And then I just fixed myself. Like, they're like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to fast, and I want to read my weird health shit, and I'm going to do this breathing exercise meditation thing. And then my brain slurped up the hemorrhage, and I was fine.
So here's the question. Were you, you know, you sound like an intelligent man and a sort of functioning member of society. You're obviously employed, and, you know, your tweets are very interesting, etc. But were you normal before the wreck? In other words, would the unconcussed Lucas be posting the things you post and approaching social media the way you do? And would he be on this podcast and associating with the kind of guests that you guys associate with? Like,
yeah, I think I had a number of like I had like a big IV drug phase. I had like the brain thing. I did like weird other strange health things that basically like turbo nuked my brain, and like I remained exactly the same person throughout all of it.
As I've recently said, he's not normal, he's well adjusted. So
yeah, there's a cause and effect question that can't be answered, because the sort of person that like rides motorcycles fast and crashes them and then gets back on motorcycles has some pre-existing urge to be crazy, and most sources of head trauma come from voluntary acts of craziness. I do know, like, that I would get the feeling, Lucas, that you're talking about, of grasping at like words and numbers that I knew, but it felt like I was reaching for them through a thick rubber sheet and couldn't quite get my fingers around them. You know,
my feeling was sort of like the best visual metaphor I can think of is if you're trying to like read a sentence, and then there's just like a haze over like half of the words.
Yeah.
And you have to like squint really fucking hard to like try and make it out. And like, yeah, you're not totally sure if, but yeah, I guess that's essentially
I would get that from boxing. And it took some, I was afraid the first time it happened, I was terrified that it was my new permanent state of affairs. Like, oh, I'm a stupid person now. This is great. Like, as if I wasn't already, you know, handicapped enough in normal life. Like, now I'm stupid as well. Like, can I at least be handsome?
And you bounced it back pretty easy.
It's self-resolved in about 10 days.
There's so many I don't know, like every like really interesting guy that I've met in my life has some sort of period where he's essentially like turned his brain into like a 10% horsepower output version of its current self, like through some combination of either like head trauma, drugs, or just like weird like not eating exclusively like wheat or something for like 6 weeks or 6 months, and like not getting any nutrients, developing like a severe B12 deficiency, and just like killing himself, stuff like this. And then everyone just sort of like recovered it back. Like I've never met anyone who they had like an extremely sharp, brilliant mind, and then they just like blew it up. Like they just fucked themselves up.
Yeah, I do brain damage like a rich guy spends money. Like I've got plenty to spare.
Nice.
And I'm never
I'm actually terrified of it now though. Like I'm a total pussy on bikes now.
Yeah.
It comes with age.
You still ride, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so everything like with motorcycles, basically everybody has everybody who is still riding a motorcycle, you know, they start off and at some point, like you start off and you're really scared because you're like, holy shit, like there's a lot of potential to really fuck my shit up here. And then you start getting overconfident, and then you start getting extremely overconfident, and then you crash. Mm-hmm. And then if your crash is severe enough to scare you out of it, then you either quit or you go back to riding like a very normal, responsible person. And if it's not severe enough, then you keep becoming even more overconfident until you have the big crash. Yeah. And some people are so insane that the level of big crash required to like humble them is something like well beyond the point that it will kill them. So you just kind of have to like watch them and hope that they run out of money to stop crashing motorcycles before they get this point.
Are you an organ donor?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you can't be an organ donor and a motorcycle rider.
Yeah, no. If you're an organ donor as a motorcycle rider, man, it's just like
they call them
signing your
motor donors. Yeah,
the motor donors, exactly.
I had a coworker who worked as like a volunteer on like a volunteer for the ambulance or something, like some sort of a medical volunteer. And at one point, I gave my take about organ donors being like an organ harvesting scam, and he really didn't like it to the extent he like organized like a big company email to like talk about like the realities of what he's seen on like the volunteer ambulance force.
and yet like Rockefeller had 15 heart transplants, right?
I know, that was always my fallback, was like, how do you explain these extremely wealthy people always getting the organs, right? Like,
how do you explain David Crosby's 7th liver? Well, you know, the young girl down the street from you just
can't get one.
You know, you're driving by her house one day and you see the memorial with the flowers and shit. You're like, guess somebody with some dough needed that one, you know?
Yeah, Susie couldn't get the kidney. Yeah. So
and he was always like, well, there's always enough organs for the rich people, right? It's just the poor people can't pay enough to get them. And I was like, why is there always enough? Like, where are they coming from? There's always people dying, but like, it's sort of like a logistics thing, right? Like they have to be pretty recent. Like you can't be like, oh, this heart's like a...
Yeah, you have to be somewhere where there's a lot of those guys running around with the dry ice cooler that they show on like doctor shows, the igloo cooler with dry ice in it and the organ. You have to be at a major metropolitan area where a lot of young, healthy people are, you know, getting concussed in their motorcycle accidents.
And the rich guy just knows for sure that when I go to get my surgery that someone's dying right there and they're going to give me his, I'm the front of the line. Like
exactly right. He picks you out. He's behind.
He's like, ooh, mirror, I like this one.
Looking at all the people. Yeah. He's like, oh, that Varus looks healthy and strong. He looks like he's been eating a lot of broccoli. That's what they're tracking us, all the bro science guys. They're like, he's been taking plenty of vitamin K and he's been eating that Ray Peat diet. I can tell. Like,
it's the only reason Solra hasn't been banned.
Yeah, get those kidneys strong for me.
They've allowed the entire esoteric right-wing health sphere to prosper simply because they're breeding up the next generation of organ donors.
Organ collective. One day we're all going to go to a party at fucking Peter Thiel's house. We're gonna be like, finally we're getting that funding for our fucking project, and then it's just a giant tiger pit.
You wake up all one kidney.
Yeah, you wake up with like Blake Masters chewing on your innards gleefully.
Thiel Foundation for real. That's what always.
I always wondered how how they determined like this person is smoked enough that we can start taking his organs. Because you know they even have instances of people like being buried when they're not dead, right? So like clearly we don't totally have this shit figured out. Like there's always some really weird outlier case, like you'll be or like the lethal injection people where they like give them the potassium injection and it just like depresses their heart rate insanely, but they're still like alive.
The lethal injection thing is fucked up and depressing. Like just shoot the people. Just
I know,
fucking give me a cigarette and a blindfold and have 10 guys shoot me. One of them has a dud so he can sleep at night, and just fucking shoot me straight in the heart.
Exactly.
I feel like also there's like there has to be like some sort of like a spiritual moral attribution to the killing that the lethal injection is trying to circumvent in like the most pussy way possible.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to convince you like, oh, like you didn't really kill him or something.
Yeah,
right?
it's like some Rube Goldberg machine where like a fucking pinball has to fall that hits the lever that sets the drip going.
Yeah.
You just pressed the button to give him the sedative. You didn't press the button to kill him. That's like a chain of occurrences. Yeah, it's cringe.
They should just be fucking launching people with trebuchets and shit and
over walls and shit. Just like that'd be kind of fun, actually.
Well, like it's simultaneously like better for optics in terms of telling people like, oh, here's what happens if you like fuck up, and like instilling some sort of actual fear of the punishment. But it's also like it makes it so you actually have to like balls up about it.
Yeah.
Like it's just better all around. I don't understand all of this weird, and it also kills them better. That's the craziest thing. Like we somehow can't fucking inject something that 100% of the time kills somebody. Like there's this weird fluke chance that maybe it just like suspends them in limbo and we like cremate them alive afterward. Like it's so fucked up.
No, we did this in France. The executioner classes, like if they fucked up, they didn't do like a correct killing, then like they were like lambasted, like harassed, and like a mob would come after them. Like they were supposed to like the whole thing about being executioner was like they the guys who like would have like the axes and shit, they had to do it like one swift hit. And they would be like ostracized, and it was a whole problem if they fucked up.
It doesn't seem like that easy to fuck up. I'll tell you,
think so. If it's not sharp enough, what
it's got to be is like the chemical they use to kill the guy costs $600,000 per dose, and like the governor's cousin has the only license to distribute it in the state. It's got to be something like that.
Oh, of course, yeah. Because they wouldn't go. I mean, because there's so many very guaranteed ways. I mean, like electric chair not so much, but I feel like the electric chair is definitely cheaper than whatever the fuck they're using.
You could easily kill a guy with a rear naked choke. They should just
that's also a really good point.
Rear naked choke the guy, and he'll pass out before he knows that he's dying, and then you just hold it for
And they're dead. That's such a good point. You could
like,
have
even with current drug prices, you could do it more effectively with a heroin overdose at this point, and it'd feel a lot better. Like
that's what they should do to give you your black belt in jiu-jitsu. It's like your final test is they send you a prisoner to be executed, and you have to rear naked choke him to death. You have to take his back, get into position, and rear naked choke him to death. And if he can get out of it, then he goes free.
And you don't get a black belt. I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
You know how
you got to align incentives.
Like kings and stuff like that would always like a king would never be the one to actually kill somebody, like kill one of his enemies in any way. Like they would always have some sort of designated person who would do it because they thought there was a spiritual consequence to being the one going about that. What do you think comes with being like an executioner in terms of like karmic rebound?
It's a weird job because you don't like you go 6 years without working. Like there's all these court delays, and the death penalty itself is always under Supreme Court review. So it's got to be, in many ways, it's a great job. Like you're sitting there reading magazines, watching TV. Any executions for me today? No. When's the next one? 18 months, we might get the guy that fucking buried the school bus full of children alive, but he's on his 19th appeal. So like, if you can stomach just like a couple shitty days every few years,
that's pretty good.
Then it's the greatest job in the world. It's like lighthouse keeper or something, like just a do nothing job. But you have to be a certain. This would be something that like Sam Bankman-Fried or like some other weird like soulless autist could do. and like not feel bad. Some other person with some like emotional handicap should be put to work like doing, you know, effectively altruistic things for society that a normal
Oh my
person
God.
This is real
just
effective
Fucking
altruism if
branding
you think about
your profession as an executioner as the ultimate ineffective altruist.
That's exactly. I mean, honestly, that is probably the most accurate EA of all time.
You'd also get, I think you'd get pussy as an executioner.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. That was a
Absolutely.
specific question was, do you think people are going to hold up to their weird meme about like, oh no, like it's so bad to kill people? Or do you think it would be like spun into some sort of like epically like legalized danger?
I think women would love the executioner because women like it when you kill people. So you'd get okay. So this is actually turning out to be the greatest job. Like you only have to learn like one thing, right? It's like don't put in the fucking one chemical before the other, right? You just got to learn how to put in an IV. You don't have to really, you know, there's no danger of really fucking it up either. If you miss a vein, it's no big deal. You need to learn to, you know, push a button on one chemical, push a button on the other. You do that once every 5 years. You get tons of pussy. The rest of the time, you're free. There's also there's no like on call, dude. Everybody knows when the guy's getting
there is no on call
way in advance. So
no holidays.
You can plan your vacations really well, and then
you can probably automate your job too. Just put it on a timer, right? Now you're really just living the 4-hour work week. Like you're just like on some Tim Ferriss shit.
You get like one of those machines that like waters your cat every 24 hours, and you like hook it up to the IV.
You can get a Fiverr hire. Yeah. Let's do it, dude. That'd be a great job. And then like every piece of like hinge pussy that you take home like wants you to wear the mask, like be shirtless, wear the mask, and like wield the axe and be like, yeah, tell me you're the fucking executioner, baby.
I think that would be like extremely blackpilling for me. That would be the point at which I like give up on any sort of like normal human relationships.
Oh yeah, if you're the execution, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, they used to be like a ostracized like whole like line. It would always be like a bloodline thing for the executioners. They would just like hand it down from like generation to generation. They had to do like their different penance and had this whole like ritualized aspect of it.
Yeah, and like grave diggers, anybody handling the dead was a sort of untouchable in society. Interesting.
But now it'd be kind of you would definitely get pussy for that though. You know, like I bet you like the cartel like assassins are swimming in it. So what's the difference? Or shadas, like the shooters in gangs in like Chicago, they definitely get more pussy. So
yeah, and it's a trade, dude. It's a kind of a respectable trade. It would be like, you know, all these guys that tell you to like learn a trade when you're upset about your white collar job, like that's one of the ones you could learn is fucking executioner for the state.
It has great benefits.
Contract, yeah. You get a fucking pension. We should all do that. Where are you guys, by the way? You said I don't want to
I'm in
dox.
Texas.
Okay, and what about you, Lucas?
Yeah, I'm in like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I don't know if you don't want to say that's all right, man. I know you got fucking, you know, I respect people's desire for total anonymity.
I've accepted that at some point I'm going to be fully doxxed, and I don't really care that much. And actually, it's probably going to make getting followers a lot easier. But
well, speaking of making followers, you know, getting followers easier, like you have done the greatest version of the experiment where you pretend to be a woman and instantly get huge amounts of clout, like thus revealing that like life as a woman is completely without challenges. It's just like they're like doing gymnastics with the moon's gravity in terms of getting fame, jobs, money, and clout.
Women in group chats have found really, really weird ways to cope around that specific thread that I made about like how easy it was.
The fact that they're complete talentless bums that nobody associates with except for wanting to have sex with them ever for any reason.
Well, the weirdest thing to me is that they'll all say like, "Oh, like this is awful. Like I'm being whateverified, right?"
Yeah.
And like as a man putting yourself into that position, like it never, you know, maybe just because it's not real to you or whatever, but it never was like, oh, this is to my detriment. I was always just like, oh, this is fucking epic. Like, they're offering to send me money. Like, look how nice they're being to me. Like,
and then like people are mean to you, just use them as like bait for like more content. It's like really not that bad.
Right. But. Yeah. Like it was just everything. I don't know. And like there are obviously instances in which men will be like extremely hostile to you as a man, but like when you're a woman, like you never really experience like the full output of cruelty from any like male messenger or commenter, right? Like I've gotten way meaner messages from a guy just because like guys don't pull punches with guys the way they do with girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. No, it's they definitely were like, well, if you were a girl, you would feel the feet. No, no.
So yeah, there's always this idea that like they can't walk their dog because they're afraid of, it's always like a pack of rapists come out of the van on the street and like drag them to a shed somewhere. And like I think that, that's pretty rare. And as a man, you're guaranteed.
And it almost seems like something weird to fixate on when I hear people.
Well, because they keep watching
they
keep listening to true crime. Girls like have like a true crime fetish.
They love this shit.
So now they're stuck and they're just fantasizing about all of this. Unfortunately, so I don't know. I think it would be pretty lit. I mean, you're also particularly good at being a woman. You have like your writing.
I do have a uniquely androgynous, we might say, brain that lends itself really well to splitting down that line. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, your writing doesn't like immediately read as a male, which is
this is the main reason that I don't want to dox. Actually, like I would have doxed probably last year. Like it's not going to be like an inconvenient thing with my job. It's not going to like there's going to be some stuff that comes out that's going to be so funny that it will 100% give me like a few like big viral turbo bangers. But the main thing is just that if you're anonymous, you have the ability to like play a character. And if all your posts are tied to a face and a name, it's kind of like, like you can't just randomly put on a female avatar and start posting as a girl. You can't pretend that you're going to be like a 19-year-old lanky Zoomer for the day. You can't post in the voice of a 60-year-old man now. Like there's a lot of creative options that get kind of BTFO, and it's just not as fun. And you can kind of step around that by obfuscating it to the extent that you don't like have your face as your avatar. But the more people who know you and the more notorious you are, it just becomes like creatively limiting.
I mean, I used to post face, and that was maybe 5 years ago that I stopped doing it. And nobody remembers what I look like or thinks about my.
Well, they know you look like Tony. Everyone knows you look like Tony Hawk. I thought that was
people say that I look like Tony Hawk. I'm a way uglier version of Tony Hawk.
Do you remember? Like I used to be a physique poster, and just nobody like knows now.
I used to post physique, and then I'd fucking put on another 8 pounds of fat. And so there's something about
it's fucking over, bro. It's over.
I still have a 6-pack, but it's like there's something about a fat 6-pack that looks worse than like a giant like Alex Jones torso. Yeah, there's like an insult to it, right? It's like the difference between like seeing there's the dignity of an elderly woman, and then there's like the fading beauty of like a hot waitress but lifelong smoker, like something where like if there's still like an atom of attractiveness left, like it somehow becomes like a greater aesthetic crime.
Yeah, it's true. It's like
some level of like the middle class striving of
beauty for sure. Or it's like being the older woman with the Botox and you're starting to look like a balloon now.
I always have like every now and then they'll get a comment saying like, do you guys remember like who won that Physique tournament? Like they'll be like, oh, I think it was Lucas. And then they'll be like, isn't that guy like a tranny?
Wait, did you win?
Yeah.
Oh, base. I didn't know.
Overall won the first one. I won the second one. And then it became a little bit embarrassing to start posting pictures of yourself shirtless because it got taken over by twinks who were largely. So there are these group chats of like homosexual paypig men.
Yeah, I would get those. When I posted Physique, I would get propositions from a lot of gay guys that were sort of trying to, like when you post Physique, it is a signal in their like down low language that's like, I'm down to fuck. Like they see it as like a Grindr profile almost. So I would get these like sort of coded messages about
are you gay or are you bi, LOL?
Yeah, but not even that direct. It was implicit that like it was an approach they would use with a married man. They're like, are you curious? They're like a lot of gay guys, it seems, they're the only way they can feel a sense of conquest is to get
a straight man,
a guy
Okay,
who
yeah.
identifies as straight. Yeah.
yeah.
So I would get that, and then I'd get pictures of some guy's ass and stuff. And
So for me, I always got the ones who wanted like I want to worship like hot alpha cock. Like I want to worship like a true alpha male. And so they would all have like names like Paypig for alpha men, or like cash fag or something like that.
The thing is, like, all of those guys are married like aeronautics engineers.
I know, they're literally all like
yeah.
employed guys who have a fair amount of money, and like they send me these screenshots of them like pay pigging other guys, and they're like not like insubstantial. And the other thing is, like, I don't know what it is, but a lot of them came to me and they would say like they would let me in on the because I basically said like I'm not gonna do this. Like I don't necessarily. I think it's kind of based actually that guys are out here like making money doing something like this, but I'm worried that there's some sort of like a spiritual penalty, and so I don't want to be associated with this shit. But so then they would just start talking to me, and they're fucking like normal guys. We'll start talking about like some work thing, or like,
Yeah,
oh, like do you guys use
the,
like Simulink for your
Packers?
microcontroller programming also, or like they're fucking
The horny took over,
people.
man. Sometimes when the horny takes over, you're just on some beast shit. You're just like, yeah, I'm a pay pig. Yeah, oink oink.
Well, and then they start oink. Telling me like who. So there's apparently like a multiple, like a large 6-figure bounty out for Solbrad's face pick for these people.
Really?
Like that's like the crown jewel for them. They've told me like there's a bunch of other guys in our sphere who do this stuff like down low, and they like try not to let people know about it, but like all of these like gay pay pig people will generally tell me, I guess.
Okay.
So I now have like a very good understanding of like who within the money Twitter network is doing secret gay pay.
I respect it. I respect taking
I do. I respect the commitment, right? So because you have to make like a whole social media presence and interact with people and like understand an entire demimonde just to jerk off. Like it's a lot just to jerk off. No, I don't think anyone's getting flown out to fucking Council Bluffs to actually ask ream of an insurance salesman, are they? They're just like, it's just they're just trying to get pictures.
I've heard that the ones who make a lot of money do actually wind up like fucking their
that's dedication to the bag that I really wish I had. I need some more like just content.
Yeah, like taking Viagra and fucking a man for the bag.
I respect that, honestly. It's a little bit. Yeah, I don't respect it in when it's girls because they don't have to work as hard for that. But for dudes, it's like, damn, you really just have like a really on the grind set. That's real stigma.
It's right. So like other hard jobs that guys have done are like trenches in World War One. Coal mining, like oil derrick work and stuff. And I guess just like getting a stiffy somehow, like making yourself get hard and then fucking a gross civil engineer in the Midwest in the
probably the hardest job imaginable.
It's up there, but it's just like it's one, maybe it is kind of like learning a trade. It's another one of these things where it's like learn to weld or just learn to like get yourself hard in this situation. And
the hardest part isn't, I think, getting an erection. I think the hardest part is, despite having sex with all of these men, like pretending you're straight, like continue, because that's the thing. They have to outwardly broadcast that they are a straight man, or else all of these people instantly lose 100% interest. Like as soon as you like, there are bisexual guys who have tried to court the same audience. I know this might be a big surprise, but there are down low bisexual guys within the right wing bodybuilding physique
shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely could not believe this.
They have tried to get these same pay pigs to pay them money, and they have no fucking interest.
Yeah, because you're clear, like because you're open to the idea, right? So yeah, you have to be able to do it and not let it affect your self-concept, and also still be very publicly straight. That's a tough job.
Yeah, and all of this really complicated.
All of this lends itself to the idea that like the gay pay pigs are actually kind of like doming these guys in a way. Like and that's the thing that I think would be really hard is like, I mean, you can theoretically be taking the Viagra, you can fly down to this guy's place, you can be having sex with him, but like you're still getting spiritually pounded, right? Like there's some level of pegging you in the soul that he's doing, right?
I mean, answer behind that is probably too dark for this podcast, right?
I don't know if it's like, it actually just seems about right for this podcast.
Nobody's like, okay, I had a fucking healthy upbringing and a healthy normal life, and like I'm not, genetically gay or whatever, but I'm gonna do that anyway. Like something awful happened. Like we're seeing like the results of horrific sexual vampirism like generations later. It's dark and depressing and sad.
That's I had somebody recently explain to me that Freud and basically all of his findings were he was like, yeah, you should take that stuff with a grain of salt. And I was like, why? And he was like, well, so the thing is, Freud was specifically the guy that all of like the time's wealthy elites who like molested their kids came to and said like, hey, my son that I fucking raped 47 times is acting really fucking weird and it's embarrassing me at parties. I need you to figure out what's going on. So like all of his clients were like raped by their dad. And so like all of this weird stuff about like their fixation on their like mom and dad and stuff, like it came from somewhere.
Well, I mean, that's an important part of Austrian culture, I think.
Oh, getting raped by your dad.
Yeah.
Is that
like if you've ever encountered someone from that fine nation, like I think just operating anywhere in Vienna, that would have been its client.
It's ABBA, getting raped by your dad. Yeah, I get that. I always thought, I mean, now that you put it that way, it does make a lot more sense. I mean, the cocaine aspect always seemed like it just wasn't explanatory enough. But for sure, getting paid by rich guys to like make their son stop being weird and crying
to try
publicly.
To calm the girl down. Oh my god,
that's so dark.
That's awful. By the way, I go to I go to what's it called? The other guy. What the fuck? Jungian analysis, which is kind of close. Yeah. So, and I'm sure, and that seems to be very much based on like weird, like black magic and like Latin tomes bound in human skin and stuff. But it works, man. I'm not sad about not having a wife anymore.
Magic is real.
Yeah.
So hey, look,
I've always wondered which of those guys was the. I also always kind of assumed that there was like a personal aspect to it, right? Like you needed to find the one that spoke to your soul.
Yeah.
To go about reading all of his stuff, as opposed to there being the one guy who figured it out for everyone.
Yeah, it all kind of depends on your where you are, like your dharma in life. You either are drawn to your guy for a reason.
I have like an extreme aversion to reading any sort of serious book anymore. Like I used to read exclusively like technical manuals, and now like the only books that I have on my list to read are literally like it's like DT's books, it's like Zero HP Lovecraft's books, Paul Town's books. Like I'm only going to read e-celeb fiction for the rest of my life.
That's everything all you need.
Can get fucked.
That's all you need.
Well, I did really make my books. Like the reason that I write books is because like I'll be sitting on the toilet about to take a shit and I look behind me on the toilet tank and it's all like Tolstoy, giant serious books. And like sometimes you just want something that's fucking unpretentious but not stupid, right? And that's just not a homework assignment. So like, if there had been a book called The Pussy by Delicious Tacos, I would have gladly read a book that morning instead of shitting while looking at Twitter. By the way, The Pussy by Delicious Tacos is available on Amazon now. Get your copy today if you're within the sound of my voice.
I have The Pussy, actually. I unfortunately have only the cheapest Kindle, which shows ads when I freeze it. So when I lock my screen, I can't put The Pussy on the front of it, and that's prevented me largely from taking it into work.
Isn't The Pussy like at this point like top 50 best selling, or is it higher than that?
My sales right now are in the toilet, so I don't like my sales get very good when I actively shill the shit out of my books, like when I do like temporary price cuts and like flog them on Twitter and beg for RTs. And then if I have a new book and I'm doing like tons of posts, tons of podcasts, tons of hype, for the last like 4 months, I ran out of gas. I'm like, I can't fucking shill these books anymore. Like I just can't do it. I don't care if I don't make any money. Like I just need a fucking vacation from this. And I was like, this will be an interesting experiment because like how much like real word of mouth is there? Like I really did my best and I worked hard on these books, and like it seems like I've got a lot of readers, a lot of good reviews, and like maybe it'll be like passive, success and income now. And like the instant that I'm not spending all my time shilling the shit out of the books, they'd fucking drop off a cliff. So they're like number 2 million in the Amazon rankings now.
That's crazy.
for those books were, I had a few solid years of like really good book sales, and in terms of accumulated sales, like for a self-published book, they've done great. But they're not like, I sort of memed myself into being considered a successful author because I would post all my sales charts and shit. Like I don't post them anymore because they fucking look like shit. Like nobody is buying. I'm selling.
What happens if you just like Photoshop them? Like you just make the line go
just
up
make
instead.
a big I mean, that would not be a bad idea. That would be akin to pretending to be a woman is pretending to be a successful person. Like when guys that are like, I've got a fucking 5-figure a month business passively operating, blah blah.
I love
blah.
how they always do revenue, right? Like it's
and
never.
Also,
I have a five.
They're literally counting after the decimal point as a digit. They're so like $353.22 is considered a 5-figure sum.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never gross income. It's never net. It's always just. They spend.
That was
like
the weirdest thing to me is that like it was clear that they were using verbal tricks to obfuscate the fact that it wasn't as high as they wanted it to be. But like, why would you not just lie? Like, what am I gonna do? Check? I can't see. Like, just fucking lie to me, dude. There's so many people in crypto who were so much dumber who realized like I'm just gonna lie. And I was like, I believe that guy. Look, he's not using any sort of weird obfuscating language. That's a really good sign.
Maybe people are afraid of like the business people, like the non-crypto business people. It might be one of their like, this is not financial advice ticks, where it's like,
oh yeah,
they envision themselves
false advertising. I have to be truthful.
They see themselves being hauled in front of a barrister wearing a wig and like in successful businessman's court and being called to task, and they'll be like, actually there are 5 digits there, your honor, for you see after the decimal point. And they're like, oh, we have to let him go,
case dismissed.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I think you should just straight up lie to. Though I will say though, sometimes people do really well too when they like make it worse. Like Gainsey, like he'll like only show his losses, and that'll also kind of comes full circle too. Like he's I lost $50K doing this.
Well, there are now like huge quantities of people who think that Gainsey is just like the most dipshit retarded trader ever because he never posts his green days.
Yeah. Which is like, I mean, there's a branding to that. I mean, like he's been the most. He's had this kind of thing going for years, where it's just like he only loses. But then you're like, you hang out with him, you're like, oh, you have money. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's just not as funny. Yeah. People like Schadenfreude.
I post my like daily stock gains and losses if it's a funny amount. I would never post my bad book sales because that's actually my actual self-esteem is related to those, and like it means that I'm a fucking huge loser and a bad person. Like if I fail as a writer, like I've really wasted a huge amount of my life where I could have been like getting rich and like finding a wife, and like the energy I would have put into those things. I'm like, I'm going to write The Pussy by Delicious Tacos. And if that book fucking sucks and fails, like that is that's like, what is comparable to that? Like,
yeah, like, I was saying this to
war on France or something.
I was saying this to Lucas. I was like, I have this. We have this urge to be respected on some level. That you don't like. He's okay with just doing pure shit posting. It's his own trade, so he has like a perfectionism to it. But like, he's okay with like whatever the response is. But you and I have a need that at least some of the people understand that this is art or something.
Yeah, and I'm torn. I'm torn by it, right? Because again, like it's The Pussy by Delicious Tacos, so that people don't feel like it's a homework assignment, and because it's funny. But yes, I do find myself getting that lust for legitimacy. Like somebody was talking to me about like interviewing me for the LA Review of Books, and it activated like a little cocaine urge in me. I was like, yes. And I'm, of course, like I'm picturing like tweed jacketed professors like smoking a pipe and being like, delicious tacos, the gogol of our era, and like, fancy women and stuff. And I have to, that instinct is so destructive to actually doing good, unpretentious work. Like if you care about that shit, you are going to turn into the pussy that worries about fucking literary journals and participates in like journal feuds and shit.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, always.
And like,
I think you have to separate it out though. Like, I think you can go for, I don't know, maybe not like a book or something, but like if you separate yourself across like different mediums, then you can have like one place be your like fuck around and like never serious zone, and have another place where you're like somewhat serious, maybe put serious thoughts on your third Substack or something like that. I don't know.
I think you need a maximum of 3 things. I'm feeling a little spread thin because I've got 4 things going on right now, which is Twitter. I've got delicious.tacos.com where your listeners can read all my shit for free. I've got Substack, and I've got my books. And like, that's too much.
Yeah.
But it is also true that the one thing that I don't feel any pretensions about is Twitter, which I don't give a shit. Like, I never track and I don't care. And like, that's the only thing that's growing and everything else is completely in the tank.
Yeah, that's how it works, unfortunately. Yeah. Though, I mean, but part of that's because you have like an ease of flow, right? When you don't care, you'll actually say something funny or like insightful because it's just dumping pure thoughts.
Also, when I go on the blog and I read my old posts, the ones that are still good are the ones that are not connected to any specific time or topic. So like, it's not like anything that's like about Barack Obama has no value now. Whereas anything that's like, I'm sad and like, I like big boobs is still resonates. Right?
I relate to that right there.
So
this is why I've had to basically like, there was a period where I basically made like an active decision to just totally disengage from all like news, current, whatever, because it was like a content neg, right?
Yeah. But
like you can write about it and you can get like really good trend-based interaction at the time.
Yes.
But just in terms of like going back and looking back on it, like it's totally disintegrated and nobody remembers it. And then you're like, oh fuck, like this didn't matter.
Yeah, but people get super hyped about it. Those things like really pop. And like, that's that's when I have a thought that's about Donald Trump or fucking Sam Bankman-Fried, I'm like, this is going to Twitter. I'm not like, nowadays, I'm not like, I'm going to sit down and write an essay about Sam Bankman-Fried. But if I did, it would probably bring more people to the blog where I want them to be than Twitter where I don't really care.
Well, you can generalize it too, right? Like with the with Jordan Peterson coming out and giving his big anti-anonymity take, like I saw a lot of people basically using that as a springboard to jump into the pro versus anti-anon discourse as opposed to discourse about Jordan Peterson specifically.
That's
definitely the way to be.
Jordan, like I tweeted about Jordan Peterson yesterday, and his pro and anti factions are just like battling in the replies, and people take that shit so seriously. They hate him. They love him and think that he fucking saved their life, and it is fucked up. Like Jordan Peterson's connection to people, like the only real work I've seen of his is like the table of contents for 12 rules for life, and I read the 12 rules, right, which is like
the first
which is the that's all you need. It lists the 12 rules.
It does.
So like, there you go.
The whole time.
Yeah, no need to make that airport purchase, but it's pretty good. The 12 rules look pretty good to me. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. It looks like the same shit.
They're literally the same. Yeah, it's like half the book is like
12 rules. Yeah,
is kind of
he's right, and like that. If you read that book, it'll probably help you. But he really, like what he's doing with his like demon trolls, like demon trolls are in a special hell of anonymity, is so obviously his personal sensitivity and inability to take criticism. Like I have people saying mean shit and like cruelly stalking me and trying to tell me to commit suicide, on a pretty regular basis. And like at some point you have to develop the spiritual tools to deal with it in order to get along in society. So
especially as an internet person who's basically
he's just an open fucking wound, man. And like Peterson has got to go. Like whatever. It's it's not my business to talk about somebody else's sobriety, but I'm going to. Like Peterson needs to fucking call his AA sponsor.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, look, I'm crying about fucking people being mean to me on the internet, and the guy would be like, because I've done to my AA sponsor many times, and he's like, what the fuck is the matter with you? Like, who basically gives me the Tyler the Creator speech. Like,
I go out, I'm really outside.
Yeah. Like, dude,
I think it's impossible to explain to anyone who hasn't ever had like a big internet following, like what goes on. And there's so many people who like achieve the big internet following of like entirely nice people. And like, do you remember Holistic Honey when she got big basically off of like nice like mommy bloggers, and then she like accidentally jumped into like the right-wing health sphere and suddenly was like, what the fuck, oh my god. and just like her entire relationship with the internet like instantly got upended.
Yeah,
happens,
and I
yeah.
do get it too. Like I'm not without sin, because it does, when people say mean shit to me, it really hurts my feelings every time, and I suffer every time. It's extremely effective. But there is when you have a resentment against somebody, in this case like Jordan has against anonymous trolls, like part of the inventory you do around it in Alcoholics Anonymous, of which I hope he's a fucking member, is that you look at what is my part, right? If somebody does bad to you, you have to look at like, what is my part in the resentment? And a lot of the time your part is holding on to it and voluntarily obsessing over it, choosing to obsess over it, right? And that's what he's doing. He's like, somebody's like, Jordan Peterson, you're a fucking fraud, you suck, your daughter's got a fucking puffy pussy, and you know, she's a whore that fucks Andrew Tate. And he's like, oh, and he looks at it, and then he thinks about it, and he clearly like, he's like, this is the Jungian archetype of the fucking you know, and he just obviously like elaborates on it in his own mind. Now you really, and I'm not, you know, again, emotions are going to impact you. It is a normal, when somebody says something, and when somebody has really studied you and you've put a lot out into the world, you know, I say a lot of self-deprecating shit, and then people turn around and like say the same shit that I said back to me, and it still hurts my feelings.
Hurts so much more. It always hurts way more.
Yes, and it's true, and so like you're allowed to feel that way, but Peterson's like zealous one-sided view, right, that people have patiently explained to him, like, what about fucking Solzhenitsyn, like, don't you know, understand, like, not everybody can blah blah blah, and like what he really wants is like a specific kind of dick to stop being a dick, and no and the other thing is like, no Twitter ban is ever going to work, because those people are going to go, you know, they've got like a farm of phones from 7-Eleven, they can make it.
Well, yeah, every time the new Russian phone number farm comes out where they can get like a cheaper phone number, like, oh, we found this one that's 7 cents per number instead of 9 cents. Like, it looks like we're going to get a lot of alts this week.
Like, you just got to suck it up, Peterson. Like, you got to suck it up and stop being a pussy. Like, I'm sorry that you fucking, you know, were.
Well, the other thing is these same people would say it attached to their face. Like,
yeah, they would definitely say it.
You could create an internet where all of these people were fully face doxed and stuff, and like
within a week they'd be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go back to being a troll, fuck that.
Yeah, like it's the same thing where, I mean, the type of person who has this much time to go around like compiling all of this information on anyone else and spending this much time like obsessing over them and stuff, they're not really like a super
they're not a congressman.
Yeah, exactly. So like they're not going to be at any risk of losing any sort of like substantial employment option. They're just going to fucking say it anyway, and the only thing is he's going to be able to respond with like, you're employed at a gas station. He won't even be able to say that because it'll make him look like shit.
Yeah, I don't know, what a strange case. And you know, I feel for him, and maybe he's not entirely wrong. And I also like maybe misinterpreting him, because of course, like people like me or like Zero HP Lovecraft or whatever, like we immediately, anytime someone's like, you fucking anonymous dick, and like I think he's talking about me, and I'm sure he's not. And like I'm the least anonymous person on the entire internet. Like the only thing that everybody doesn't know about. Yeah,
we're all kind of in this weird
in this weird, like we're not, but not really. Because everyone can find our names pretty easily if they really
and
want
you
to.
know, like you know my innermost feelings, my darkest secrets. Everybody knows them. I put them in books, and you know, thousands of people read them. I put it, and millions of people read them on the fucking internet. So like, I'm not anonymous. I just don't need you to know my fucking shipping address, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, especially if once you get to a certain point of too, like everyone, like you start meeting people from Twitter, like people can literally, you can just find us if you really were motivated, but that's not really like, so it's like fake anonymity. It's pseudonymity, obviously, but
yeah, exactly. Somebody could, yes, people can easily find me if they want. I will beat their goddamn ass so bad. You have no fucking.
We have
really
there's weapons by the door. I promise.
Point.
we have ammunition. I assure you.
Yes.
There's also certain, like, it's interesting watching like people grow audiences and seeing like which type of people specifically tend to attract like insane stalker types who like dox them and spend like every minute of their day going around like looking at all of their posts across all of their accounts and archiving everything and stuff, because there's some people who they get like a massive audience and just nobody does that.
Yeah, ever. What like,
it's so weird. Yeah,
what
I really thought I'd have more than one.
How do you get that? Yeah.
I've had 0 stalkers. And like, also people are nice to me, which is so funny to me. I cannot relate to the whole like my followers are mean, but part of it's because I had to like fight everyone to get any kind of like following it to begin with. So I think anyone left is like, oh, he's chill, and like, well, we could find his docs if we want. We don't really care, and that's kind of where it is.
Most people are very supportive. Obviously, the few that are negative are the ones that stick with you, right? Of course, you're going to want to read the one bad review of your shit. Like it's just human nature.
I think the combination of like taking yourself seriously while being earnest tends to lend people towards like stalking you like an insane person.
Yeah,
or you gotta that and indicating that you're like sort of on the edge, right? Like if somebody seems generally mentally stable and they never like fly off the handle in the replies or stuff like that, then there's very like low motivation to do it. But if you can tell that somebody's just fucking barely
yeah, nobody doesn't push the rock that's on the edge of the cliff for sure.
Yeah, I have this same there's multiple girls who I've met in a group chat who have come to me afterwards and been like, Lucas, I've always been like really wary of you because I have an understanding that like if I had met you outside of the group chat first, like you would have like poked me in replies until I like freaked out publicly on the timeline, and that always makes me feel like
warm
sort
and
of
fuzzy.
weird.
Oh
yeah, right. Like it always makes me feel like
correct,
because like our relationship now is good, but like if we had met in any other way, like I would be terrified of you and we would be mortal enemies.
That is literally me with most girls on the internet. They're like, I know for a fact you would have harassed me in the replies, and I'm like, yeah, probably, honestly, mostly for the meme, but I'm a very nice person, but the meme takes precedent online. Like, let's be honest, we're here for the punchline.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're here to work, man.
Hey, this is my job. Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, I need to fucking.
I'm in the lab. I'm cooking up.
This is a crime scene. Please get behind the yellow tape.
DT, is the writing your like main thing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a day job and shit. There's other shit in my life. Look, serving God and my fellows is my main thing. But but to be a fucking prig, but. Writing, my writing in my books is my big sort of like calling, and I'm working on a new book now called True Love.
Nice.
I have a novel called Finally Some Good News that people should read. My newest book is called Savage Spirit of the Unicorn, which came out in 2020. And so I'm always writing stuff. I used to post on my blog all the time, and now I post less just because I don't want to post shit topics that I've covered before, and there's just less and less that's new as you fucking experience more of life. So trying to focus on the book and get it done. I think it's going to come out in 2024 maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I've been wondering what goes on as you write, and you like because every one of the like Greek philosopher guys that I read about has a very like, you can see the clear development of what they think, but you also see them getting kind of like bored of certain things as they go through writing about it. And I always wondered like what happens when you like a good example is the pro versus anti-anon debate, which is at this point like essentially like a like an abortion tier debate. That to me, when I hear about it, my brain sort of makes like a static noise.
You're like, oh, I'm sure like Israel and Palestine will be resolved real soon. Just keep just one more argument.
Yeah, and like people always get like very I don't know. I had some guy responding to me really mad a while ago. Oh, Lucas, like you're never earnest. Like, have you ever said something you like seriously care about in anything? And it was funny because it was actually in response to something that I did legitimately believe.
Right.
Like I posted something about like it was something that sounded like a meme about how me basically thinking like video games are like total dog shit, right?
Right.
And but he went off about you're just posting this for like engagement or likes or whatever. And
as opposed to what? As why else do you post something on Twitter?
Yeah, I always love that one, right? When somebody with a non-private account responds,
you're selling out, man. Yeah,
you're doing this for engagement. It's like
you used to be real, man.
Yeah, no, the
they're always just worse at it, right? They just don't know how. It's like
learn to post, please. Thank you.
we were in a group chat earlier today talking about the same thing about people who like look at someone like Andrew Tate or Alex Jones, and they say like anyone can do what he did, man. Like he's just engagement farming. You just have to say like a bunch of ridiculous stuff, and then you just get $1 billion.
Yeah, go do it.
Yeah, find out really, really quickly because you can test it out right this second. That most people cannot pull the shit off.
Right. To do what either of them does, you have to get hit in the head like hundreds of times.
Quite literally, yeah. You need
for real. Like I do think, and this goes back to the circling back to concussions. I do think that getting hit in the head makes you more impulsive. You get like that Phineas Gage railroad spike injury where your impulse control and your sense of risk, etc., all go out the window. And so Alex Jones is not afraid to get sued for $15 trillion. And, Andrew Tate is not afraid of getting
big woman.
Imagine being so risk tolerant that you're like, oh yeah, not only that my entire all my income go away, I'm coming back to social media and I'm also gonna fight Jake Paul and make millions off of it. Like that's like, I wish I had that. I need to get kicked in the head more.
I love and support Tate. There are certain, I'm not a fan of any of these like Tony Robbins, like give me recurring revenue and I'll tell you how to start a drop shipping business things. But I do enjoy him, and I hope that he fucking, destroys Jake Paul and etc. But there is a thing like I think Hunter Biden had this too, right? You forget that like Hunter Biden was in a car that like flipped 18 times when he was 2, and so his head was like a coconut in a rock tumbler, and I think that just kills your impulse control. And now like he's like, all right, and like because he's the son of a senator, like it's like, all right, well you get to go to Georgetown and you can be on the board of the World Hunger Commission and all this other stuff, and then he is just trying to get through the day. So he's like, I need to smoke crack and fuck whores. I just need to smoke crack and fuck whores. And
I can make it to tomorrow.
For him, like running like UNICEF is the equivalent of like his McDonald's job, where he just has to like get out from the end of his shift and then fucking spark up and fuck some fucking prostates, dude. And I think head injuries are part of that.
That's so true.
I wonder, yeah.
You really got to the core of him,
this is where because like when I give takes like, oh, I think video games suck or something, there's always like some guy coming in and saying, well, but like they teach you like the problem solving and but like
so does going outside.
My thought was always go on social media and learn like basic social dynamics and learn to see if you can like make people do things that generates you money, right? Mm-hmm. Like isn't that like the grand video game here? Like isn't that at the core of there's no difference between understanding the like dynamics and systems behind like any video game as there is behind understanding that on social media.
It's insulting to and sort of wrong to imply that a video game has to do something. Like, no, video games do not enhance any cognitive abilities. They certainly make you stupider, I'm sure, but they're fucking fun. It's okay for something to be fun, and you don't have to like
defend its
about
utility,
an argument of taste, right? And come in and be like, well, it actually improves your hand-eye coordination and your spatial reasoning is excellent. Like it doesn't. I
have respect for the person who's like, I play video games to stop me from getting fucked up. I think that's very admirable. Yeah, I
play video games because I fucking work 8 hours a day, and then I fucking do another job writing books, and I do fucking volunteer work. I do all this wholesome, productive shit. And sometimes I want to
volunteer work.
Yeah, I go. I'll tell you about it. But sometimes I want to fucking burn a couple of hours doing retarded shit. Right? I want to fucking
turn my brain off,
jerk off, and like watch some Netflix or play some Xbox and just enjoy myself doing retarded shit. It doesn't have to exist for another reason beyond that, and it doesn't have to be defended. Like, you can fucking play World of Warcraft all goddamn day long, right? Like, people in fucking hunter-gatherer societies spent most of the day fucking sitting on their ass. Yeah, and then once in a while, they'd go get a fucking buffalo, right? They'd go chuck one spear at one buffalo once a week and then cut it up.
And they were chilling,
And you're done, dude.
Rest of the time, just fucking smoking peace pipes and shit around the fire.
There's shit that's made out of 2,000 pounds of meat that's going to walk near you at some point, and then you have to throw a sharp stick at it, and that's your entire job. There's nothing else to do. So it's all right for a human being to spend most of his time in leisure.
I agree. I like that. And then, sometimes you got to make a little bit more complicated type of or our leisure is doing this fucking podcast. This is effectively not productive, but it feels productive. Right. I get the dopamine hit like it's productive.
Look, I think the ultimate goal is to find a way to take all of the things that you do as a hobby and somehow turn them into content.
That's the thing, though,
without destroying the fun.
You can never start thinking of it as a job, because if you start, that which gets measured gets whatever maximized, or whatever the adage is.
Yeah.
If it's been a relief to not look at my book sales. It's been a relief to not stress over page views, and it's not creatively good for you to follow
trend optimization,
follow the audience, and follow engagement, and all your stupidest shit is going to be your most popular because people are fucking stupid, and
listen,
you got to let that go.
We were talking about this a little bit last time about how if you want to have the optimal viral bangers, it's a 7-word one-liner from Black Twitter, and there's 250 of them total, right? They've all of the giga-viral tweets have essentially already the tweet ideas have already been made, and you can rework and resynthesize and combine them and reskin them in new ways, right. But essentially it's all done.
Mined. Listen, every single time I make a tweet at this point, someone references the tweet that I made that's Greta got the grippy, and I had 90 likes on that tweet, and I'm telling you, that was years ago at this point, and it gets referenced every other day.
How many years ago? Wait a minute, how many years ago?
A year and a half, but whenever. Oh no, she was 18. It was after 18th.
All right, yeah,
it was literally 2 weeks later, which is why it kind of resonated in people's heads, because I was being a dickhead. Yeah, and that has resonated with people and had 90 likes. And it's you never know what sticks in people's brain.
That thought has crossed, has crossed people's minds, I would say. Once in a while you'd see a picture of Greta grimacing, just grimacing as if there were some, I don't know, some large intrusion happening to her that she, may not have been quite flexible enough for. And, the thought just crosses your mind.
I know that I tapped into the deep wells, the darker part of the subconscious with that tweet. So I understand why it sticks with people's heads. And I also understand why they won't publicly like the tweet. I also understand that. But if I was going by metrics,
why they won't publicly getting on the alt to like the tweet about Greta Thunberg's pussy.
Exactly, I understand that. But if we were going off metrics alone, I would never have had this viral banger that was never viral because people were too scared. Cowards.
Hey, dude, I don't know, man. She always looked like a.
She looks downsy, honestly. She has a fetal.
Well, even though she's obviously she's too young, which is obviously bad. She's too short, which is bad. She looks like there's some sort of development to you, which is bad. But my thing is, she looks too mean. I think she would be mean to me.
What if you fucked Greta Thunberg and she had a really loose pussy?
That'd be so tragic. You just got lost.
I think if you pointed it out, she would be mean to you. Yeah. So I would be too scared.
You just lost on every metric in life. That's tragic.
You finally get in. What if you made it your life's work? You became the world's top climate scientist over many years of study, because you were that pussy is so tight, I'm finally going to get there. So you studied oceanic currents and shit, and you're I've discovered a wave that fucking genetically engineered mice can eat plastic and reduce pollution. And finally you get there, right? You get to the Nobel ceremony where Greta's getting her prize, and you're introduce yourself. Then you're in the Swiss hotel later that night, and you're at last, at last I'm going to enter the gates of paradise. And you're God damn it.
It was all a waste. Well, the journey is the important part. That's the real treasure. It's all about the journey.
That's
didn't she do the UN speech?
Villain.
She did she did a UN speech, yeah.
I kind of worry about her. The crowd that she's hanging out with is kind of the rapist pedophile cabal.
Oh no, already, there's actually people think that because her parents, there's some deeper conspiracy that was going around about her parents and UN and shit like that, and because she has fetal alcohol syndrome, almost certainly because of her parents are partying and that kind of crowd. It's a whole thing.
I think I think she looks fine. Like she's a fine looking woman.
She did almost beat Caroline Ellison in the Would You Rather poll I did.
Almost. Wait, she didn't beat Caroline?
She did. She did. It was back and forth for like all 20 hours. And then at the end, Caroline eked ahead.
Caroline Ellison is out of like Hans Christian Andersen stories about a cobbler. And
it looks like the Keebler elf for sure.
Yeah. Like you have, you know, something like somebody like wishes for gold in ancient, you know, in the Black Forest, and like Caroline Ellison appears and is like, well, if you answer me these questions 3, and you're telling me fucking Greta, who is in my opinion a good looking woman, lost to fucking Caroline Ellison. What is this?
Here's why.
Shame on you.
She I think it's because they found her Bumble profile and found out she's 5'8" and curvy. So the brick house pog, the battle pog,
what are you trying to get on a fucking amusement park ride? That's complete horseshit. A woman's height does not matter.
They were like, she's a brick house, man.
About in a woman.
Complete.
It's due to my extremely androgynous mind. I only care about her height and posting aptitude.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things you look for in a woman, Lucas? You know, height, a good sense of humor, and what's her income?
Basically. Yeah, no, unfortunately Caroline won. I really thought Greta was gonna win, but it was pretty close for 5. It was like 5K votes. You know, people were really
just for the record, I don't support objectifying women.
Oh yeah, of course not. Of course not. No.
Did you see the filter that Forbes put on her in that tweet that they made?
Oh, the yassified? Yeah, the yassified.
Oh my God, that was so absurd because like, you know, they must have been in a meeting at some point, like saying like, how do we cover this up? Like, how do we make her look normal?
We can't put this on a magazine for sure. The other thing is like, at least there's something kind of honorable about all the stories that are coming out where it's like, you know, Sam Bankman-Fried, you know, has lost his dream to cure all viruses. Like as he strokes a puppy by the fireplace, he expresses regrets, right? And it's at least the people he bribed are honorably like doing the service that he paid for after his downfall, right? Mm-hmm. Like they took the money and they're like, it shows that there's some kind of like mafia system. They want to show their next potential patrons that like, hey, we'll play ball. So like the next Jeffrey Epstein that comes along, like we'll also write about how you're getting like women of color into STEM at MIT. Even if it all goes down for you. So they're advertising themselves as like, you know, loyal clients. Like even if you know, Sam Bankman-Fried
that's a good take.
Stole, you know, he's just like, oh, customer deposits, like sure,
that makes more sense than every other take.
That makes way more sense.
The New York Times article was like resume building for their own credibility in accepting bribes.
Yeah,
that's precisely. Yeah, it's an
that's
ad.
Such a good take.
The message is like, it's to other wealthy people who might be considering like, you know, kicking, you know, The Intercept or, you know, Financial Times or whoever it was. I don't know that The Intercept did a nice piece, but Financial Times did, and Forbes and all this other shit. It's telling them like, hey, we'll still honor our end of the deal. Like even if you go like Madoff, Epstein, you know,
that's if you get the deluxe package, though.
Yeah,
only if you did the deluxe package, not if you get the.
That's if you get you get you know, Twitter Gold or whatever it is. You get new NYT Gold subscription. Like,
we'll make
you know, that his cannibalism was only as a result of a rare genetic illness where he needed certain nutrients to survive, and like what he really wanted to do was save shelter animals.
And if you notice, he only ate you know, white males of, you know, he was actually kind of a feminist expert.
He only killed evildoers. He was kind of a superhero in a way.
He spent a lot of time in Africa and with these specific tribes, and he was just trying to emulate the black voices that were not being heard.
Yeah, exactly right.
Did you see the Vox article with all the leaked texts that he had?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so like that was like those texts all like perfectly outlined him as exactly who I thought he was when I decided to invest in Solana because he backed up. Like I was like, this guy is,
his last name's Bankman.
100% like an autist, utilitarian brained, like hyper pragmatic programmer with the outlier trait of like massive risk tolerance. which like the programmer brain people never fucking have this. It's always their massive downfall, right? Like you can, the effort that it takes to get a programmer type to do anything interesting is so insurmountable. It's actually birthed the entire field of project managers because they need like weird dominatrix women to stand over them like fucking cracking a whip just to get them to like do anything.
Yeah.
That's an incredible take.
His last name is Bankman. It was obvious. When was the last time a man whose name was Bankman was like, "I'll buy it back for $3"? Come on.
It does make you wonder, like, what if all his conversations were just that candid? Like, people are like, "Hey," jokingly, like, "Hey, Sam, is this whole thing a scam?" And like, I noticed you happen to own a trading fund, and an exchange. Like, are those two things? Are you just using one to fund the other? He's like, "Yep, yep, hee."
Like he was saying, like,
and they're like,
I'm putting my mic. Like, he's the one. He's the one. I trust him.
The picture that was painted of these two people wasn't like they were great friends, right? So it was like he was basically just and you're wondering, like, he has all of this stress, like his life is exploding. He's going through like XYZ legal proceedings. He's trying to fundraise $8 billion, and somehow he's like messaging some journalist who he like has a very tentative relationship with, entirely candid details in which he's like, "Oh yeah, LOL, like we actually just shared the bank account between these two private like mega corporations because I forgot to set up an LLC." Like,
part of it is, and I think the way he gets off is like he's going to go for some kind of amphetamine psychosis. First of all, he might not be prosecuted at all. Like, is it even illegal to do what he did in the Bahamas? Probably not.
Probably not.
For so long, like, I think we need to get people to actually make predictions about what happens to SBF, because this is going to be like a really good filter for like people who actually have an accurate model of how criminal justice works in the world. Because like I admittedly have no fucking idea.
I have no idea
whether he's gonna get exploded.
You know what's
or
crazy?
Just gets totally off.
You know what's crazy?
Because like he what?
So I was talking to like a normie like finance like bro yesterday at this party, or like Thursday, and he was like showing me videos of people like attacking Madoff on the street. Madoff did for 1/20th of the amount of money that fucking Sam just like lost in a day.
That's what's confusing to me is like every giga whale I know traded exclusively on FTX because they had the highest 2% liquidity spread out of anyone. So they experienced less slippage. So if you had a bunch of money, you traded on FTX. So he lost like all of the richest crypto people, all of their money. But also he had so much money that like I imagine he has there's no way he didn't ferret away like $1 billion or something.
Oh, of course, 100%. Yeah.
And like, what are the fucking chances that FTX hack at the end wasn't somehow his?
No, it was his. It's been confirmed. The Bahamian government made him hack into FTX to get shit for them.
Yeah, by the way, no way the fucking Bahamian government did that.
Like, oh no, the Bahamian government, which is a puppet of the CIA, is a puppet. It's a sock puppet of like some other fucking person.
It's also just might not be true. Like he might just be flagrantly lying to be like, yeah, the government made me do it. And people just, say it like they fucking believe him. Like, oh yeah, the government made me hack all that money back into my personal accounts.
I have more
about everything.
I have more of a faith that Sam gets murdered than he does go to prison, personally.
Right.
I think he gets murdered.
He's probably so geeked out on that fucking Parkinson's medication that he's like trading right now. Like he just hacked the money back into like some other fucking scam he's creating, and he's trading right now. He's trading people's money right now and gambling.
So apparently you have to be there's a slight chance you die from eating meat on that drug, which is likely why he's vegan. So I actually would believe his veganism. I know that wasn't consensus.
Yeah, I made some tweet about how everybody who thinks he's a vegan is a retard because he lied about everything else. But like that tweet was a total bait. That tweet was nonsense. Like he's obviously a vegan. Like just look at him.
Look at his sunken eyes.
All right,
people were responding to me being like, "Oh, did you see his fridge? Like, it's full of all those fake vegan eggs and stuff." And I was coming up with like these like outlandish reasons for why he like staged his fridge for the photo shoot. But like, no, I mean, he's obviously a vegan. It was all bullshit.
All right, guys, I gotta jump, man.
No problem.
But thank you. It's been a tremendously fun. Go to deliciostacos.com and read my shit. Thanks, bros.
Definitely. Thanks for coming.
Wonderful talking to you. I love you both. And I'll talk to you soon. Can I hit leave, and is that gonna fuck anything up?
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, okay, you're good.
Sweet. All right, peace, brothers.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, man.
Bye.